All right, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to our final stream for the 2020 fantasy season. Just a quick note here before we get started. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me all year long. We've got some cool stuff getting ready here for the off season, but week 17, if you guys have got matchups this week, we've got you covered here. We'll be doing a quick Q&A and answering all of your guys' questions. And just before we get started here, there is a laundry list of names that are not going to be playing this week. So I just wanted to go over those guys quickly just in case you didn't realize some of your guys in your team are out, because the number is actually quite large for guys that are not going to be out there. So you got Alvin Kamara and the entire Saints backfield out due to COVID this week.
He crushed them.
Alvin Kamara decided to go to the club, I think, and he got the cove. So
we know how that goes. He might just get cut now. Who knows?
Yeah,
Haskins got cut, so maybe Kamara.
You are not cutting Alvin Kamara.
That's the curse.
What's going on, Splode Fire? Welcome to the stream, man. Drop your guys' questions down. Just get those piled up here. Any Week 17, any offseason questions, we're going over all of it. So anything you've got for us, we are happy to answer those questions. So drop them down there. Alvin Kamara out this week. Like I said, Dalvin Cook had a loss in the family, so he will not be out there this week. Miles Sanders has a knee injury, will not be playing. Damian Harris is out with an ankle. Kenny Galladay, again, will not be out there. Big Ben is resting this week. Cole Beasley has a knee that he's out with. Brandon Ayuk has an ankle. Deebo Samuel still out with that hamstring. Jared Goff, a thumb. And Darrell Henderson with COVID. James Robinson with that injury he sustained against Baltimore will not be out there. And then Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and CEH will all not be out there. And there is the possibility still that we see Travis Kelce be benched. So in an effort to rest those players. CMC for the Panthers is doubtful this week, along with Mike Davis, and head coach Matt Rule said they are highly unlikely to be out there. And so Rodney Smith would be the next man up. And then Dare Agumbawale for the Jags is likely the guy to see the touches for Jacksonville.
I believe it's Dare.
Yes, Dare Agumbawale. Wisconsin product.
Yep.
So, yeah, you guys keep dropping your questions down below. Like I said, Week 17 championship advice that you guys are looking for, or off-season content. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah, Splode Fire has. Miles Sanders is out, which, yep, he is out. You have Latavius Murray, but, again, he's not going to play either.
Yep. Who should you roll with? Whoever plays in the backfield for the Rams. I like going with Malcolm Brown this week. I think that Cam Akers is questionable. I wouldn't be surprised that if we see the healthiest guy in the backfield get the touches.
It's usually what they do.
Quick thing here. Keep dropping your questions. We've got some game picks for you guys. And a note here. Last stream, I'm not so sure if we're going to have this issue this time around, because I think that there's just less people watching fantasy right now.
Yeah.
Just because Week 17 is not as popular. But
hey, next year, you guys are all going to be in it, okay? Everyone watching, we're going to help you get to the end.
You're gonna get to the championship. But a quick note, I would just like to say, if you guys are playing Week 17 championships this week, I would advise that next season you change your settings so that you end in Week 16. Obviously, it's fine, but Week 17, we see a lot more issues with players sitting and resting because of bye weeks and whatnot, and wanting to have that extra advantage in terms of health. So it's in your best interest to end your fantasy weeks in Week 16, your leagues, because I think that that's the chance you have to really display your actual team's product. And the best opportunity that your team has to win the championships.
Yep.
And then in terms of questions, you guys, no need to spam. I don't think we're going to have that problem, like I said today, but actually we will get to your comments sooner. We go straight down the list from the order they're commented in, so the sooner you guys get here, if you guys have the bell on, you're going to have the opportunity to have your questions answered sooner. And then obviously not required at all, but extremely appreciated if you guys super chat. We'll skip over whatever's in front of you and answer that first, and then go back to wherever we were at. So if you guys want to get your questions answered quick and get out of here, if you super chat, you can get those answered right away. But not too many people in the stream today, so you guys don't have to do that at all. So game picks here. So every week here going forward, in the playoffs especially, we're going to be doing these game picks. But last week we did game picks. I'm a Packers fan. Eric here, co-host, he is a Bears fan. Packers-Bears this week. Obviously had to predict that one. I've got Green Bay 34-23 over the Bears. Last time at Lambeau, the Packers had 41 points and knocked off the Bears pretty convincingly. But on the road this week at Chicago, I think the score comes down a little bit for Green Bay. But I think we still get the job done. And Chicago is missing Jalen Johnson, their second corner. So not too much expectations for the Bears.
As well as Buster Screen. But I've liked how our younger guys have stepped up. I think Kindler has been Vilder and Kindler have been used a lot since they're basically the guys that stepped up. We drafted them. They've been kind of targeted a lot. They're young still. They could get a little better, but Screen is just a good tackler. His coverage hasn't been great because he's just getting slower.
Yeah, he's a little bit older. And then, so my lock pick of the week, we do a lock and an upset. We don't pick all the games because that would take too much time. We've got, for my lock, I have the Browns over the Steelers this week. I think they win by double digits. Pittsburgh's resting Big Ben, so obviously they're valuing health over winning the game in the seeding right now. I've got the Browns 27-17. I think Baker Mayfield, he wants to get in the postseason, solidify himself as a long-term guy for that team. And this has been long awaited. The Browns have not been in the playoffs for ages, so they want to get in here and win this game. Mm-hmm. And then my upset this week is actually an interesting one. I've got Dolphins 27-26 over the Bills. I think Miami and Tua look to make a statement one here, get into the postseason, and show that their franchise is in good hands. So I think that's a big one for them, even though the Buffalo Bills will be starting their guys. It's a division matchup, so anything can happen. I also heavily considered picking the Jets to upset the Patriots, but I figured I'd roll the marbles or roll the dice out there a little bit more.
Roll the marbles.
Roll the dice with the Dolphins over the Bills. So, Eric, you got your game pick.
Going in with all the marbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened there. Okay. Chicago, of course, against Green Bay. I have to pick the Bears. We have to win to get in. So I went 27-24 there. If the Bears win, it's going to be a close one. It's at home. Hopefully that makes somewhat of a difference. It's going to be cold no matter what. So they both play in the cold decently well. So that might hurt the Packers in a way. They're going to be playing a team that is able to play in the cold a little more. I think Titans
it just evens the playing field. I don't necessarily think it hurts either team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think that you guys played the Titans. I think they struggled with that cold. I mean, we expected them to do better than they did. So, yeah, evens the playing field. But the Packers are still better is what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Maybe we'll see.
Anyway,
Steelers-Browns. I agree with Gavin that the Browns are going to beat the Steelers. 23-13 is my score prediction. It's going to be low scoring. I don't think either team. I mean, the defense is still going to be there for the Steelers, but division opponents, maybe the Browns light up the Steelers. Who knows? Falcons at Bucks. I have the Falcons as a upset here. 34-30. That's going to be high scoring if they do win. Buccaneers are still going to be able to score points, even though it's Brady. But did we get a?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, those are our picks here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right, we'll take questions now. Get into anything you guys want to talk about. Explode Fire.
Yeah. He's got Akers and Brown. So it sounds like probably Brown. Just start Brown.
Let's check in on Cam Akers. I know he's questionable right now with that. I believe it's an ankle that he sustained against the Jets. He was limited at practice on Friday here, so obviously that's encouraging that he was at least there. But I think McVay wants to go with the healthy hand.
Yeah.
And I think that if Cam Akers is dinged up and hampered, he's probably going to want to go more of the Malcolm Brown role. If this is for your RB2 spot, it's dicey, but I think I'd go probably Malcolm Brown. If it's a flex, I'm 100% riding with Malcolm Brown because I think that then the risk is a little bit more warranted. But obviously you're seeing how it's a bit more risky to end these leagues in Week 17 because of all the things that can go wrong. So something to keep in mind for next year. I think you roll the dice with Malcolm Brown. I don't know what you think about that, Eric, but
I agree with that.
So John is wondering about Mike Williams, Nelson Aguilar, or Emmanuel Sanders this week. I really wouldn't have even considered Emmanuel Sanders, but now they have no running backs. Yeah. I mean, Mike Williams, the Chargers, who do they have this week, Eric?
The Chargers have
the Chiefs,
Yep.
And the Chiefs are resting their players.
Yeah.
I think Mike Williams is a little bit too risky for me. Nelson Aguilar has been fantastic, and he is playing the Broncos. Mm-hmm. Made my must-start wide receivers list. I really like Aguilar, but I think that Emmanuel Sanders deserves some consideration in this game. So
He has those big games, and this could be just the perfect formula for him to have one of those.
Right. I think if you honestly, as weird as this sounds, I think the safest option is Aguilar, but I think him and Emmanuel Sanders both give you a really nice upside there. Red Mamba says, as of right now, who would you prefer as a keeper? Josh Allen in the 7th round, CeeDee Lamb in the 9th round, Will Fuller in the 5th round, or Jalen Hurts, ADP minus 2 rounds, or Hawkinson in the 11th? This is a really great question. I am actually really glad that we got some off-season questions in here. I really like that. I think Josh Allen's a great keeper in the 7th round, a fantasy superstar. I think maybe your value might be more toward TJ Hawkinson in the 11th because I think that, quarterbacks aren't exactly the best thing to pick early, but for a 7th round pick, it's certainly
I think 7th
viable.
is pretty good for Josh Allen.
I think it is too. I think he might be around 4th or 3rd round next year. Hawkinson, I think, is a top 5 or 6 tight end next season, though, in the 11th round. That's a pretty darn good one. Hurts, I think it's too early to say wherever he's going to go. I mean, we don't know if it's going to be him or Wentz next year still. It could still be Carson Wentz's show. They could give it back. Will Fuller, I'd completely stay away from. CeeDee Lamb, I'd stay away from. What are your final thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Josh Allen, he's my guy. I would pick
so,
him.
too.
7th round is a pretty good spot for him. Hawkinson at 11 is really good. I think he's going to be one of the better tight ends next year, but with the ceiling that Allen has and how consistently he hits a ceiling, I think you go with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I agree on that one. It's close for me, but I think the star power is with Josh Allen, and his floor is pretty great week to week. But he has that extra ceiling factor that I think Hawkinson gives you a really nice floor with, but we don't see the ceiling flash as much out of the tight end spot. Okay, so we got a question about is it smart to stack your players? And by this, what that means is stacking quarterback and wide receiver pairings. So Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And I think if you get the right pairing of the two, if you can find a high-end combination.
I did it this season with Josh Allen and Diggs.
I think it's a really good way to go about stuff. I mean, there is kind of the pros and cons. It can end really, really good for you if they have that big game.
Yeah.
But you could also have that Metcalf and Wilson stack, and they play the Rams, and you lose your week. You're basically going to lose.
I would stay away from that one.
I would stay away from that one. I'd also stay away from stacking even Murray and Hopkins because I think that, Jalen Ramsey twice a year is not the best option. I would stay away from stacking players of lower end of the spectrum stacks. I think, those top-end guys, like Eric said, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs,
and they're
probably the best one.
They're playing some iffy defenses a lot of the time, too.
Right.
So that helps out a lot.
Miami, you can score on Miami. They'll get some picks, but you can score on them. The Pats, not the same defense, and then the Jets, not at all either. In Green Bay, Rodgers and Adams is fantastic. I'm trying to think of what other ones would be really elite. I'm not even so much of a fan either of Evans and Brady. I mean, I could see Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert might be a really safe
that one.
one.
Actually next year could be. I mean, again, they're playing okay defenses.
Right.
Herbert's gonna throw every game. He's gonna throw a lot, and he's the number one target. So
that's gonna be an air raid football team. They're gonna throw a lot.
I really like how he looks.
I think they're about to go to Unfortunately, I love Austin Eckler, but I think his actual rushing attempts is going to go way down, and he's going to be a lot more of a out of the backfield. It's going to be
like CEH situation. Yeah. He could do the same stuff that Eckler in some cases. He can catch, and he's kind of a shifty running back.
Right.
But they're just going to throw so much, and it's going to work so well that they won't need to run.
Exactly. I hope the Bears and Panthers win because then the Hawks will get the first seed. Well, Explode Fire, I'm a Green Bay fan, so...
I'd love to see it.
I hope I can just shut down that hope in a flash if Green Bay can beat Chicago in the 3:25 window. Is it the game of the week? It might be.
It should be, really. It's got a lot of implications. I mean, clearly the NFC East has a lot of stuff going on.
I think it is. I think it is the Fox game of the week because the only other game they have is Rams and
we play at 3.
Cardinals.
Fox.
I mean, it's not like it really matters, but yeah, I think that
it's our game of the week.
It's our game of the week here. There'll be a lot of bragging rights going into the off season based off this game. And isn't there a scenario out there where New Orleans gets the first seed? It's like really dumb, but somehow
that's why they really want to win still.
Green Bay beat them in week 4, so like I feel like we should have a tiebreaker, but the Panthers have so little of a chance to win with no Kamara. That offense is run heavy. Yeah. I think that it could possibly happen. Carolina's kind of a trap team this year. I was afraid when Green Bay played them.
So are we saying Ty Montgomery's going to be the guy?
I think that he was the guy that wasn't on the contact list.
So former Packer Ty Montgomery, who was switched from a receiver to a running back, he's on the Saints. And as you know, all the running backs for the Saints are on COVID, the COVID list. So Ty Montgomery will be moved back to running back here, it looks like.
Yeah, so all the guys that Alvin Kamara wiped out with close contact tracing was Latavius Murray.
He just wiped him out.
Michael Burton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I just hit my microphone on accident. And they've also got MT is out this week. Deontay Harris, Marcus Williams, Josh Hill. And then he actually got their running back coach out too, which is kind of funny. But Ty Montgomery is the 27-year-old former wide receiver is going to be the lead back.
He looks kind of beastly in that picture.
He's pretty built. I mean, Ty Montgomery has had his little stints throughout his career, but he's nothing special. Oh, and was it like Dwayne Washington? He got out of there too. Yeah, bad situation to be in. Don't go to the club, Alvin, when your team is trying to get the 1 seed. Okay, Mr. Yang is wondering about DJ Moore or Jarvis Landry this week. I'll let you take this one first, Eric. And
Panthers and Saints, and Cleveland against Pittsburgh. So I think Pittsburgh's defense is still going to be in. Do we know? Are they going to keep their defensive players in, like Minka?
That's important, actually. Let's check in and see if
Panthers and Saints are going to play their hearts out, it sounds like. So we'll see. Well, as much as they can. I don't know.
So they're not playing T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Marquise Pouncey.
Interesting.
Or Big Ben Roethlisberger.
I've really liked how Landry has looked. He's safer, I would say, than DJ. I would go with Landry.
I think that's a big move, honestly, not to have your top pass rusher in the game. Honestly, sets Baker Mayfield up for so much more success when his line is healthy and he's been
consistent too.
When he gets time in the pocket, he's a really, really accurate quarterback. Yeah. And I think Landry, being the safest guy in that offense, can get the job done.
It's possible that DJ Moore has a better ceiling this week, but
Moore had a big game against them the first time.
Yeah, his odds of reaching them are not as good as Landry. I think Landry's a safer play, especially in a playoff, a final. To win the league, you're going to want to go with the safer guy just in case.
Right. I think DJ Moore, probably more talented. I think DJ Moore has a higher ceiling, but I think that Jarvis Landry's overall safe floor in that situation he's been put in since Odell got hurt, and just being the fact that he's the number one go-to guy now, it's too much risk to pass up on him this week for a guy like DJ Moore who's been so bust. Okay, Time Turner, I like this question. Not fantasy related, but how far do you see the Packers going in the playoffs? So, when I look at the NFC, I think it's a wide open picture. I truly believe that a wild card team could go in there and make a run. I mean, we've seen every year, like the Titans last year. They come in, they're hot, they make a run, and they could do something. And to be honest, if Chicago gets in the playoffs, arguably the hottest team in the NFC right now, I think, Seattle's playing really good football, but I wouldn't consider them to be a hot team. They're not scoring very many points. Their defense is certainly hot, but the football team in general isn't. I think Green Bay is hot right now, too. I mean,
they are.
We're putting up a handful of points every week. I think the teams that we'd have the biggest struggle with is if we ran into Tampa again, but I think they've kind of regressed, to be honest.
They have, yeah.
They hit their peak against us the first time and then instantly just kind of crumbled the next week against the Saints. I think it's kind of Super Bowl or bust for the Packers. I think Seattle would be a tough test. I think it'd be a fun game, and I think we could win it, but I think losing Bakhtiari for us was big, even though we do have Elton Jenkins who can play all 5 spots on the line at a high level. So it's really a wild card. I think I want to see one more game against Chicago this week before I make my final decision, but it's regardless, it's Super Bowl or bust for Green Bay.
Do you think that bye would hurt you guys, or do you think it would help?
I think, honestly, losing your left tackle, I think an extra week of practice gives you some opportunity to shore up the line, figure out a game plan of how you can be effective with a new player in the lineup. But otherwise,
Especially
traditionally,
if you guys, can you still get the first if you lose to the Bears?
yes,
If the
but
other teams
Seattle
lose out.
and New Orleans have to lose, I believe. Because I think there's a situation where if everyone loses, New Orleans gets the first. So
That'd be fantastic.
I don't know. I think we have to win, to be honest. It makes no sense to me how we're not already locked into the 1 seed because
Schedules are whack.
it is weird. I mean, if you look at Seattle, it has the same record, I believe, but less wins in the division. I don't know.
I feel like they haven't even played that well. Like, they shouldn't be as high up as they are. Like, even in the hunt for
They
the
won
first.
so many bad football games at the beginning
Yeah.
of the season. Like, if you look at Seattle here,
The only team they crushed was the Jets, I think.
right, barely beat the Patriots in week 2, 38-31 against Dallas. They beat Miami by a touchdown, Minnesota by 1 point. The Cardinals they lost to by 3. Yeah, it got ugly. They gave up 44 to Buffalo.
They just get behind and then they try to win in the end. It's very weird. It's almost like they're trying to make like a movie or something. I don't know.
Right. Okay. So I have to decide, but I'm just gonna wait till kickoff. Yeah, I think that's a smart idea. Spoiled fire for Akers or Malcolm Brown. If you watch the Fox pregame, Jake Laser does the in and outs, and he does a good job with that. Obviously, if you go on Twitter, find Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter, and they'll give you the guys that are going to be healthy and whatnot. And then he's also wondering about Amari Cooper or Tyler Lockett. I'll let you take that one again, Eric, to start, and then I'll give my input on that.
Yeah, Cowboys are playing
At New York. It's at the top. At New York.
Yep, they're playing the Giants. That was Amari Cooper and
Tyler Lockett. Lockett and the Seahawks are playing the 49ers, which is not as good of a matchup, I think. I'd go Amari Cooper, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's more of a number 1 anyway. He's going to get more targets in the first place. Lockett can be really a big boom, but so can Cooper. I mean, I think he's been pretty good this season. I haven't, especially with the quarterback situation, so I would definitely go with Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I have not been the biggest Amari Cooper guy all season long. I've definitely had my questions about him all year, and he's not my favorite guy in the world to play. I think they both have risk, but the thing that really kills Tyler Lockett for me is that he is just so wildly inconsistent. I mean, I'll look him up right now in half PPR for you guys. He's still considered like one of the top fantasy wide receivers this year, but his numbers are not impressive at all outside of 2 massive football games. I mean, Tyler Lockett here, let's take a look, is wide receiver 13. So just barely outside being a wide receiver 1. He has 8 touchdowns on the year, but only in 4 games did he score a touchdown. He has 13 points, 15.5, and then 32.5 when he had 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, and then 4, 6. And then here's his other big boom, 15 for 203 touchdowns with 45.5 points. And then 5, 6, 8.5, 3.5, 9, 5, 5.5, 7.5 with a 16.5 in there. So he's just been so wildly inconsistent. The numbers tell you that he averages 12.2 points per game, but it's nowhere near that on a consistent basis. So you got to go Amari Cooper, even with Dalton. I mean, Dalton's playing high level right now, so... Okay, the Panther... Oh, we already looked at that one. Keep your questions coming in, guys. Obviously, I know a lot of you guys are already wrapped up with your season here, so this will probably be quite a quicker stream. But anything you guys want to talk about football or fantasy related, I'm happy to talk about here. Eric and I would love to give you guys some input. So for your flex position, you've got Malcolm Brown, Robert Woods, or Deontay Johnson. I'll let you start with this one again, Eric. I think that's actually an interesting situation.
Yeah,
There's a lot of guys you can look out there.
Yeah, Deontay's not going to have... He's going to have Rudolph throwing to him. So
yes, Deontay Johnson will not have Big Ben.
Do we really want that? And he's playing the Browns, who we all know how that turned out last time he played the Browns. So I think Myles Garrett is going to get
Bonk.
I think he's going to get after him. I really do. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder for that one. And then we also have Robert Woods against the Cardinals, and I think he could have a good game against the
I
Cardinals.
believe he had a touchdown last time they played. He didn't have too many yards, but I think he scored. Let's check in on that.
And then the other one was Malcolm Brown, who we still don't know if he's going to be the guy, but we think he's going to be the guy.
Actually, no. He had 10 for 85 and no touchdowns. Very, very safe, solid game there.
Yeah.
I think the Rams, though, he has
Look at matchups.
he doesn't have Jared Goff this week. I forget what the name of the starting quarterback is going to be. But he will not have Jared Goff throwing him the football, so that's a huge red flag. John Wolford. Yeah, so
Classic.
lots of if he plays this week at quarterback in all the positions. Obviously, if you guys are just getting here, Kamara, Cook, Miles Sanders, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Beasley, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Mahomes, James Robinson, all not playing this week. So, and then Christian McCaffrey once again is doubtful, so his season is likely over. So there's a lot of ugly matchups and ugly situations that you guys are in here. If you've got Week 17 championships, I highly advise that you stay away from that next season and end your leagues in Week 16. I think the best option here, I'd still go Deontay Johnson. I think the Browns are weak in the secondary. Deontay played with him as a rookie and still had nice games. Obviously, the floor goes way down and he becomes a lot riskier, but from a talent perspective and like what he can actually do, I think Deontay Johnson still has the highest ceiling of the bunch because I still worry about Malcolm Brown without Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think safest play is still going to be Robert Woods.
Really?
He was pretty good with the against the Cardinals last time. I mean, they're playing for something too.
Playoffs. I mean, they want the playoffs.
And the Steelers aren't, are they? I mean,
Pittsburgh,
they're taking guys out.
Pittsburgh will try to win the game, but they're valuing rest and health of their players over the win because to them the seeding doesn't necessarily matter. So it's give or take. Do you trust Robert Woods though with John Wolford? I mean, I guess it's not necessarily would you trust him, but it's you think he's the safest of the three.
I think he's probably better than Rudolph. So
Possibly. I mean, we've never seen him though.
it's a better system for
That is true.
for a QB to just randomly come into. I think Steelers is more about Roethlisberger being a great mind as a quarterback. I mean, even then, Malcolm Brown could be the best one.
I think that Sean McVay might lean heavily on the run
Yeah.
without a passing game or
And
a
they can
true
do
passing
that.
game.
They can do it all the time.
I mean-
they could run every play and then run play action. That's basically what they can do.
Right, and they can hit a bootleg off of
Yeah.
running outside zone a lot. Let's look. Malcolm Brown here, week 1, was the starter for the Rams. He had 18 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then the week after that, 11 for 47 against Philly. So he did have a 2-touchdown performance against Seattle, though, 6 for 33 and 2 touchdowns, and 10 for 57 and a touchdown against the Bears. So
I think he could do well if he is the main guy.
right. Yeah, Splitfire thinks that the Rams are going to be so run-heavy that he's the safest. I think that it's such a hard situation. Do you really need, and Week 17 here, like we know, a lot of guys are out, not the same rosters or situations. Does your team need floor or ceiling? And I think if you're looking for ceiling, maybe go Deontay Johnson, and the Rams players are more of your floor picks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Max has a question here. He would like some help. He's got Melvin Gordon, Alex Madison, J.K. Dobbins, and Ty Montgomery. Obviously, you guys, Alvin Kamara not playing this week, so if you guys are just stopping around here, Ty Montgomery is the lone man standing for the New Orleans Saints at the running back position. Playing the Panthers, though, so I don't know how I feel about that.
Melvin Gordon's playing the Raiders, who haven't really been a great defense in general. Melvin Gordon could get some touchdowns for the Broncos. I could see that happening. He's one of the better running backs on your list, so him. I mean, Madison.
Love Dobbins, though.
They're playing the Lions. Yeah, Dobbins again. The Ravens.
Cincinnati this week.
Could be big.
Yeah, I think you've got yourself some nice options there. Alex Madison against Detroit, though. There's a lot of tough
He's been
choices.
very good. He's been very good when he's been in.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a rookie, I think he was very impressive.
Yeah.
Gordon, it's all good matchups, too. Gordon against the Raiders, Madison against the Lions, and J.K. against the Bengals. And then I would honestly just stay away from Ty Montgomery. He's a wild card here, but in your situation, you already have somewhat established players that you know can get it done against good matchups. I would stay away from the wild card and be a little bit safer.
I think Melvin's kind of a lock there. Melvin Gordon's kind of a lock there.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are not playing for anything. The Ravens are playing for a playoff spot. I think if you want to stay for floor, go with Melvin Gordon. He should see more touches.
Yep, so you got to pick two here. So, I don't know. It's Dobbins.
Dobbins has to be the other choice, I think.
Madison should do well, but I don't know how much they're really going to care about
And
winning.
he did. This is the thing that makes me shy off Alex Madison. I'll bring up this game. He played the Falcons earlier on this season, and he was the starting running back, but then he saw virtually no carries. Dalvin Cook was out. I believe he tweaked a hammy or an ankle. Alex Madison was the starter, and he had 10 for 26, only averaging 2.6 yards per carry.
Because they do like to throw a lot, and it's the Lions. They're going to want to throw even more on the Lions. I know you can run on the Lions too, but it's the last game. They're going to do whatever they want.
Yeah, they're looking for how they can be good next year at this point. So I'd go Melvin and JK there. Do I like Deontay Johnson or Jerry Jeudy better in Dynasty? It's a really interesting scenario. Eric, you're a big Dynasty guy, and we're in a Dynasty league together, and we're both executing some pretty drastic rebuilds here. So
the tankers.
If you want to take that one to start.
Deontay Johnson's a guy that we both like probably more than Jerry Jeudy. He's been okay, but do we know what's going to happen with Denver? I mean, their offense isn't all that special. They've got a defensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, former defensive coordinator for the Bears with Vic Fangio. I think they need an offensive mind to help them out, especially with Drew Lock kind of being hot and cold. It's a better situation for Deontay. Clearly, they have an old quarterback, so we'll see how long Big Ben is there and what they're going to do about it. Maybe they'll draft this year.
Right.
I think Deontay's more proven. Jeudy is pretty good, but again, the opportunities for Johnson, he is a solidified receiver there. He's getting the ball every game. Like Jeudy, we don't see him getting the same kind of attention because it's just not as much about him. It's more about Locke not having the greatest games.
Yeah. Ernest, I would say that it depends on what your team structure is. I think the common eye would tell you that these are both talented players, but Jerry Jeudy was regarded as the best route runner to come out of the draft in a decade. So I will say this, though, about Jerry Jeudy. I think route runners take longer to develop in the NFL, especially smaller guys like him. I think he will be very talented. You know, we see guys like Devontae Adams being extremely productive right now. He's really gotten his routes down to a T and really perfected his craft. I think an unusual situation is Justin Jefferson walking into the league and being so good. But
right away,
I think we could see that out of Jeudy if he had proper quarterback play. I know that Kirk Cousins is not the best guy in the world, but he is still fantasy relevant and good enough to get the ball to him. So that makes Jefferson a high-level producer. But I think another thing standing in the way is KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton, and Noah Fant. There's too many guys, too many mouths to feed there. I think Deontay Johnson in the present moment is going to get you more points like next season. Obviously, we'll see a sophomore year next year out of Jerry Jeudy and the third season for Deontay. So I think if you're making a run at it right now, you go with Deontay Johnson. And if you're looking for a stash away to help rebuild or project your team for the future, I think Jeudy is probably one of the best receivers over the next decade.
I would agree with that.
Super Bowl predictions. A little too early, but whatever. I like Explode Fire. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Eric. I think, for me personally, I would go. I'm a Packer fan. We're a hot team right now, and I don't like to pick against Green Bay. But if they were doing not so hot, I would 100% pick against them. I think I'd either go Seattle or Green Bay out of the NFC. I don't think Tampa Bay has what it takes to get there in year one. Tom Brady, there's a lot of pass rushers that I think he escaped by leaving the AFC, but I think there's certainly still some solid guys in the NFC playoff hunt that could get him, and he struggles under pressure. So I'd keep Tampa out of there. I think they're a little too complex of a team right now, and their defense is not playing up to standard. So I'd go Seattle or Green Bay out of the NFC, and then AFC is really, really a toss-up at this point. I think Kansas City is being overhyped right now. They're not winning games by a lot that they should be. Obviously, they have the best quarterback on the face of the earth right now, Patrick Mahomes. Even as a Packer fan, I'll say, he doesn't have the body of work that Aaron Rodgers has, but what we've seen his potential be is, I would say, higher than what we've seen out of Rodgers.
Yeah. And off the get-go.
Right, and he has better weapons, but you have to give credit where credit is due. Out of the pocket, left and right-handed throws. I mean, ridiculous talent. So obviously he keeps them in the top two in the AFC, and then I lean towards a team like Buffalo. I don't know how likely it is that they upset the Chiefs because I think that's a shootout, and it's really hard to win a shootout against Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know what other teams. I mean, Baltimore, they're a bit of a wild card. They've got a run game. They could control the clock and keep it out of Mahomes' hands. I mean, you're going to have to play through Kansas City. You're going to have to win a road game at the Chiefs. So I think it would come down to those three teams for me, but ultimately it's really hard for me to say that someone's going to upset Kansas City on the road to Super Bowl 55.
I think the only team would be the Bills. I really do like the Bills. I don't know if they're there yet. I would pick Kansas City, and then, I would either be the Packers. Seahawks are just winners.
Yeah, they win ugly football games. Green Bay does not.
So I would go Seahawks and Chiefs.
Yeah.
And Chiefs would win that one, I believe.
Over Seahawks? Yeah, I think they would too. I think that, Russ could make the big play, the big drive at the end of the game, but I'd still go with Pat Mahomes in that one. It's a tough call. I mean, there's so many factors playing into it. Like, we could see a team get COVID and then literally, lose all their top talent and lose the playoff game. So teams are going to have to be on lockdown and be really, really careful about what they do in the next month or so here until we get to the Super Bowl, because there's a lot of things that could fall into place and be a factor. So Ruben has a flex spot he needs filled. He's got Jeff Wilson Jr., Alex Madison, Woods, or Ty Montgomery. I think I'd go with Jeff Wilson Jr. here this week against Seattle. How about you?
Yeah, I liked how he looked.
183 yards last week.
Yeah. Madison, we're still not 100% sure on, since he did have that one game where he didn't really get any carries, even though he was the starter. Woods, again, kind of iffy, not super risky, and Ty Montgomery is going to be the most risk there. Yeah, I would definitely go with Wilson.
Yeah. Cousins or Tannewagen. I guess that was supposed to be Tannehill. Pivoting from
Same
Allen
thing.
and Brady. Behind 19, and he should be this week. Needs ceiling. Also Swift or Chris Carson. Okay, a little bit confused about the overall what exactly why
you're not going to play Allen or Brady. You're going to play Tannehill or Cousins instead.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about that. I think
would play Allen.
I'd play Josh Allen, and if you're absolutely dead set on not playing him, I'd play Ryan Tannehill against Houston. I mean, Houston's defense is just terrible. So
yeah, Cousins is good too, though. So if that is your only two, you wouldn't be going wrong either way. But I do think Tannehill should have a higher ceiling.
We got an interesting thing here. I just saw the little alarm signal here at the bottom from Ruben. So I'll just jump to that really quick. So we had a question earlier. We decided to go with Jarvis Landry against Pittsburgh, but even bigger news, Joe Hayden, one of their top corners, and Eric Ebron are on the COVID list now. So that's big implications for Jarvis Landry, Rashad Higgins. Mason Rudolph has one less guy to throw the football to this week, so that could be somewhat valuable. But, I think you have to go Josh Allen, though, Matt. I mean, if you don't, I guess you could go Tannehill, and it could end up paying off, but I think there's a point when you try not to be too fancy with that. And then at running back, I think I'd go DeAndre Swift against the Vikings over Chris Carson at San Francisco.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Okay, for Madison the Falcon. Okay, Ruben says that the Falcons game was very pass heavy, and the Falcons have one of the best running defense. They were, I think they're 4th right now in fantasy against the running back, so they are pretty solid. And that game was a shootout. Minnesota was getting whooped for most of that game, so that was a bit of the reason for that too. But just something to keep an eye on. Matt says he lost Travis Kelce. So who should he play at tight end? You got this one, Eric. A lot of the guys you like on that list. Gesicki, Hawkinson, Tanyan, and Fant.
Right there, okay. I lost Kelsey. Hawkinson, Tunyon, Gesicki, Fant. Who do the Dolphins play? The Bills.
The Bills. And
Interesting.
Then Tunyon versus Chicago.
Could do well, actually. Hawkinson against the Vikings could also be a big game. I think Hawkinson might be your best bet there. Otherwise,
if Stafford plays.
Those are good tight ends, though, to have. Those are some of the better tight ends this season. Hawkinson, I do like Hawkinson here.
Yeah, I think I go with TJ Hawkinson. I think that, if Matthew Stafford plays, he's a great option. If Chase Daniel's out there for the Lions, I'd be a lot more hesitant and probably lean on somebody like Mike Gesicki. I like Tunyon, but I believe against the Bears last time out, he only had a few big plays. There were splash plays, and then the rest of the game he was somewhat quiet. Fant has been kind of dealing with some nagging injuries. Mm-hmm. And then I like Gesicki, though, like I said, as that second option. I think he is kind of depended on by Tua when he gets those starts because it's difficult. Their receiving core is not the best. And I think when you've got Tre'Davious White probably locking up a guy like Devontae Parker, he needs to look to someone else. So I'd expect a big day out of Gesicki and Myles Gaskin. So Ernest is wondering about Swift or CEH. Okay, so
CEH isn't going to play.
He's not playing this week, but he was the guy asking about Dynasty. Honestly, Ernest, I'm going to have to say I prefer DeAndre Swift in Dynasty.
I also prefer Swift.
The Chiefs just don't run the football, and that's a huge red flag when you take a look at his overall value. I think that, Ruben commented on this. He thinks CEH is overhyped. I agree. I don't think CEH should have been the first running back taken in the NFL draft last season. I think that J.K. Dobbins would have been a better option as a pure runner for the Chiefs. I think Swift would have been a better player, honestly, for that offense, too.
Can catch.
I think Swift's better after the catch than CEH is. And I know CEH gets lost in the line. He's explosive, and he can kind of make these little shifty plays and whatnot. But as a pure running back, I don't think it's smart to invest a first-round pick in a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And obviously he's injured right now. Both of these guys have had injury issues this season. I think Swift is the guy. Long term, I think he dominates with Detroit and is a RB1 next season, I think, at least going into the draft.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The Chiefs won a Super Bowl with a 600-yard rusher and Darrell Williams. Yeah.
He should have been MVP in that.
That is Darrell Williams. It's Damian Williams.
Damian is.
I think he should have been too. I think, they're going to give it to Mahomes because he's the NFL's golden child right now. But
Golden Child is got some shining to do before the playoffs.
He does. He's been underwhelming for sure. I think Damian Williams busted off a 45-yard game-sealing touchdown in the Super Bowl to win that game. And he also had another touchdown, I believe, in that performance and over 100 yards. I think he was the MVP of that game, and I thought he was really impressive. And I think would have gotten the football more if he didn't opt out. So
yeah.
Andy Reid is famous for not running the football. Yes, he is. He does not like running the football. He is a pass-happy, very fancy offensive scheming coordinator type player or type coach. Are we optimistic about Ty Montgomery? I think
no, not really. I mean, he could surprise us. I don't know how much they're really going to even hand it off.
I think that on such short notice, Saturday, they're playing tomorrow, and they just found out about the news, late last night or early this morning, that all that stuff was going down. I think it's kind of a stretch and a tough ask to say that they're going to, run the football 20 times. I think we might see 12, 15 touches out of Montgomery if we're lucky. And even then, I think Taysom Hill might vulture
Yeah.
some touches. I mean, would you say that you wouldn't be surprised if Taysom Hill lines up in the backfield?
He'll be very involved in that game.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and do some funky stuff, catch the Panthers off guard.
Peyton likes to run weird plays.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara put them in a terrible spot by going to the club and getting COVID. That was just not smart of him to do.
Is he going to be back for the...
It's questionable because if you take a look at 10 days, if they don't get the bye week, he could be out for the first round game, and so could the rest of those guys. I mean, the NFL is a little bit different than some other things where you just have to sit out the 10 days. As soon as you test negative, you're fine to come back. But if he tests positive through next Saturday or Sunday morning, he's not going to play in the playoffs. So that's a huge deal for the Saints.
He might have to find a way to cheat his test if he wants to help them win. They need him.
They do.
Especially in the playoffs.
I don't think the Saints are contenders without Latavius Murray or Alvin Kamara in the backfield. I think they need the dynamic duo of them. I don't think they can win without power rushing. And Murray, I think he gives a very, very valuable dynamic to that team. And I think
he's very good.
Drew Brees is a noodle arm at this point in his career, and he can't win without checking down to high-level skill players. So, obviously, he's one of the smartest and most poised quarterbacks in the game, and he's able to find the open man, play in and play out. But if he has to throw the ball down the field, especially without Michael Thomas, they're not going to win a playoff game without those two, and that's a huge ask. So Chill Will is very hurt at wide out here. He looks like our last question up, unless you guys drop some more down there. If you guys have anything else you're wondering about, make sure to drop that down. But we figured it'd be a bit of a shorter stream today just because fantasy 2020 fantasy is so winded down at this point. He's hurting at wide out. He's got Corey Davis and going to pick up Michael Gallup. He's got T. Higgins and Russell Gage, and he needs 2 and a flex. And this is in full PPR. And he's not enthused about any, and I don't blame you, Will. Corey Davis against the Texans could be a good stream. He's got high upside, but always has a low floor.
Falcons are on the up, so
they are playing Tampa
well against the Buccaneers.
You know, I think did Russell Gage? I want to say he scored a touchdown the last time they played. He did something. Maybe it was against the Chiefs. He did something.
Higgins shouldn't really play that well against the Ravens.
No. I wouldn't expect a big one. Gage had a touchdown, 5 for 68, a touchdown against Tampa the first time around. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some regression. You know, I think you go Corey Davis at one spot. What does Gallup have? The Giants, but he's also got CeeDee Lamb and Cooper he's competing with. I think you got to go with Davis and Gage as the first two. Who would you put in that last spot?
I think Gallup's been on the up. So you might just go Gallup. I do like Higgins, but he's kind of boom bust. So so is Gallup, but he's been hotter recently.
Right.
So I would go with him. And they're really looking to win. They're gonna throw as much as they can, I think.
Higgins was definitely a hot hand with Burrow at quarterback, but now that he's not there, it's a lot tougher of an ask. So. Nathan is wondering about Boston Scott with Miles Sanders out. I think if you need a flex spot or an RB2 in your lineup, I think Boston Scott is definitely a guy who has shown up.
Playing Washington.
He's shown up in big spots this year. I mean, he had a game-winning touchdown against the Giants, I think it was. A touchdown pass from Carson Wentz. I think he can be decent this week. I think I would expect 8 to 11 points in full PPR from him. I don't think he's going to put up a massive day, but he's definitely a guy that could give you some lineup value. Would you consider him over? I don't even know. Like we're missing so many running backs this week. Would you consider him over, let's say, Alex Madison filling in for Cook?
Yeah, or Malcolm
Montgomery
Brown.
Filling in for Kamara, Brown even. Who else are we missing this week? Rodney Smith will be in there for the Panthers. That's another name you guys could go look for, but I wouldn't depend too heavily on him.
We're not done Giovanni. Who are we on?
Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, man. What's going on, you guys? Stopping by the stream here, picking it up when we hit a lull. Welcome to the stream, you guys. Drop your comments.
I think Washington's run defense hasn't been as good lately. I think Boston could have a good game. He's a really good backup.
Yeah, he's kind of that Clyde Edwards-Helaire like comp. Honestly, he's tiny. He's 5'6", gets lost in the line, thick little running back.
Just finds holes.
And he just shows up in big games. And he's not the most talented guy in the world, but he gets it done. So I would feel decent about starting Scott, especially in PPR. I think Hurts can help his value too, opposed to Carson Wentz, who was just a cancer for that football team. Okay, Peyton, Giovanni Bernard against the Ravens, or Ty Johnson against the Patriots. Is Frank Gore still out? Is he injured still? If he's not, I would stay away from Ty Johnson. Frank Gore is on IR as of 2 days ago.
So he is not going to play.
Yeah, so Ty Johnson is the lead back against a very poor Patriots run stop. Otherwise, you've also got Giovanni Bernard, who's been pretty dynamic lately.
I would go with Giovanni. Ty,
really?
Ty was okay while he was in. He had that big game, but then Gore came back and he didn't get many carries. Giovanni's proven as a backup.
Yeah. And we saw that tough matchup against Pittsburgh. He's actually on back-to-back kind of hot weeks here. Giovanni, 25 for 83 and a touchdown against Pittsburgh. Not a game I expected him to do well against at all, but Pittsburgh has kind of struggled against scatbacks this season. I think that Giovanni Bernard is actually an underrated running back as a whole, but then
Division opponents too, that always helps.
He also had 1 catch, 14 yards, and a touchdown. And then week 16 at Houston, a 15.5-point performance in half PPR with no touchdowns. Very impressive. He had 16 carries, 65 yards, another 7 for 66 through the air. So I think you go with Giovanni Bernard this week. Maybe Cincinnati looks to upset a division opponent, knock them out of the playoffs, and do something special there. How's it going? G. Medina, he is not... Okay, I'm not trusting leaving Allen in this week. His projection went down to 9 points on Yahoo. I'm going with Rivers versus the Jags. Should I leave in Diggs? I'm just not trusting... I'm guessing he's going to say he's not trusting the fact that Buffalo will try to win this game throughout. I think the Bills have something to play for here. They're trying to get the 2 seed. It is such a risky scenario, you guys. Like I've been saying a couple times throughout the stream, please next season, I would advise highly to end your leagues in Week 16. You're going to avoid so many of these bye week and meaningless games that can really impact how your team does. And, especially if you've got money on the line, never have your league end in Week 17. There's too many factors and kind of BS things that kind of come in and just wreck your season. So it can be a really bad situation. I mean, you're looking at 2 of the top 3 running backs will not be on the field this week, and Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, would be in that list. He's not going to be out there either. So, I don't like starting Phillip Rivers against the Jags. They have everything to play for. They're looking for the playoffs, but I just don't like starting Phillip Rivers. I mean, can you justify starting him over Allen? Because I have a tough time doing so unless...
No, Josh Allen is the guy. He's not a guy who's going to sit down either, even if he is playing. Like, he's going to play his heart out no matter what. He wants to score.
Kenny Stills signed with the Buffalo Bills a day ago. Or under
is
a day.
Is he going to play?
He will in the playoffs. That'll be nice for Josh Allen and them to have another deep threat.
Yeah.
But in terms of if he's going to play, I expect him to play the entire game. I think the only scenario in which Josh Allen comes out early is if they are up by 20 points. So I think you just have to trust in Josh Allen. It's a really, really unfortunate situation to be in this week, but I think it's a tough ask to sit him down, and then you would look silly, if you sat him down and Phil had 15 points and Allen has 30. So you need to just, count your losses at this point and take a risk on your guy who's probably gotten you to this point in the season.
Yeah.
Okay, so True is wondering about, he's got Gaskin, Gibson, and Swift at full PPR flex. You only need to pick one. Those are 3 great options. I love all 3 of those players. And they've all got good matchups. Gibson against Carolina, Gaskin against Buffalo, and Swift against the Vikings. Where would you go with that one, Eric?
Gaskin against
Buffalo
Bills. Interesting. Gibson. I mean, they want to get in.
Oh, they're playing the Eagles, not the Panthers. My bad.
The Eagles. Yep. Eagles defense hasn't been that great. That's tough. They're all pretty even, actually. I I don't know how much Swift is really gonna. I don't know. Wow, that's very even. Gaskin's been a guy that's been super consistent. At least he looks like a guy that can be a number one.
For sure.
I would go Gaskin here for safety reasons. Bills' run stop hasn't been special by any means, and it's a division opponent, so they should do well against the Bills. I think Gaskin would be a good option.
I love DeAndre Swift, but there's always a chance, Detroit has nothing to play for this week.
Yep.
Who knows how many touches they might try to conserve some of their guys for next season. Swift has had concussions and nagging injuries. They might just want to get him healthy. Completely speculation there, but you never know. And I think Gibson and Gaskin, they're playing for everything this week.
Yeah.
Myles Gaskin, the Dolphins could be eliminated with a loss this week, and Antonio Gibson, I believe, will be eliminated with a loss. So they've got everything to play for. They're going to get their best players the football. I think the front four for the Eagles is a bit better than that of the Bills. So I think I'd go towards Myles Gaskin. I think that Tua checks the ball down to him a lot, and he's going to get a lot of touches. So now, what's up, Max Baker? How are you doing, man? Drop a question if you got one. But, yeah, I think all in all there, Eric and I are both going with Gaskin. Okay, True is also wondering about... All right, y'all let you take this one. Bears fan in the house. Mitchell Trubisky or Drew Brees? And Brees has no one to work with this week. So
yeah, he's probably going to throw a lot, though. But Bears are really playing for something. I think Trubisky could show up. Usually he's not very good against the Packers, but we might get it rolling. I think Trubisky, he's going to run most likely, too. So Trubisky's your safer bet. He could... I think his ceiling is about the same because I think Brees could throw for a lot of yards and touchdowns. I'd go with Mitch, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled this up for curiosity's sake. At Green Bay Week 12, 242 yards passing and 3 passing touchdowns for 18 fantasy points. However, a big asterisk here, 2 interceptions and a lost fumble. That's minus 6 points. So if Mitch shows up, Mitch doesn't turn the football over, and he is safe with the ball, you're looking at 24 points right there. So yeah. I think Mitch this week, especially if he uses his legs, let's see what he did there. Only 3 carries for 10 yards. He could certainly up that number.
Yeah.
I think Mitch might be the highest upside player there.
He started running a lot more once he came back after Foles was in, too, because he knew that, the offense is more built around his running now, which is why it's been working. If he can just, take out those bonehead throws like he did last week, just throwing it straight into the end zone for no reason, just learn to throw it out. You don't have to force a ball in. Take every play, and he's got to just do what he can every play to protect the ball and give him the best chance of winning.
Right. Okay. Zach wants us to pick 2. He's got Ty Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Malcolm Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Terry McLaurin, and Jarvis Landry. This is another really interesting situation, and I don't know. I'll let you start with this one again.
It seems like you got to go with Aaron Jones.
He did tweak his back last week, which was what resulted in A.J. Dillon doubling him in carries. But at Chicago, he has not been good against the Bears in his career. That's been kind of his Achilles heel, if we're being honest here. He's had his quietest games against Chicago.
Jarvis Landry's got to be, right, with the injury.
I think without Joe Hayden, T.J. Watt not playing, Baker Mayfield is going to be comfortable.
Ebron not playing... Ebron wouldn't be in that.
He wouldn't affect him.
Yeah,
per se.
I was thinking.
But Cam Hayward, the second pass rusher, will not be out there. Baker Mayfield's going to have all day to throw if he wants to.
And then
17 for 90, no touchdowns though for Aaron Jones. 1 catch for 0 yards, 9.5 fantasy points the first time around. I think Jarvis Landry has a much higher ceiling.
Yeah,
than Aaron
I would take
Jones.
Landry. McLaurin, I would stay away from.
They have everything to play for against the Eagles, though.
And they've got Alex Smith in, correct?
No, they're starting...
Heineke. Heineke's in.
I think you got to stay out of that one then.
Yep, that's... Ty, we're still not sure on Ty Montgomery. Malcolm Brown and Jarvis Landry would probably be the safest. Sanders we're also interested in, but
yeah,
I think Malcolm Brown could be, since we think they're going to run so much, I think Malcolm Brown and Jarvis Landry could be pretty good this week.
Yeah, I think if Akers suits up, then you have to go with Aaron Jones. You're a little bit strapped there. Jarvis must start out of your group there, Zach. And I think
So yeah, pick 2, not pick 3.
yeah, he changed it, and then it's Malcolm Brown if Akers is out.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Wilkins wondering about Allen Robinson, Chubb, or Swift in PPR. That's a good scenario there. I think we go back to the situation from a couple of people ago. True had Swift, and we kind of nudged him out because the Lions are not playing for anything right now.
Chubb should do very well against the Steelers.
They don't have their top boys in there.
Those guys. I mean, Watt is not just a pass rusher. He leads the league in tackles for loss too.
Yes, him and J.J. Watt are the top 2.
So you gotta have Chubb in there. I think Allen Robinson is good against the Packers. He's decent against everyone basically, but I think you're gonna get a lot more out of Chubb.
Nick Chubb and Allen Robinson are pretty much the epitome of consistent players at their respective positions. And, Allen Robinson did great against the Packers last time out. I think he had 2 touchdowns, right?
Something like that.
Did a very good job against Jair Alexander. It was probably the best wide receiver against him all season long. But Chubb in this matchup is too good to pass on. Pittsburgh's not playing any of their guys. If Cleveland gets up big early, you're going to see Nick Chubb just drain the clock down and probably have a massive game. So, Juan says that Alex Smith is starting, so we must have had a switch in. Yeah, as of this afternoon, he is good to start. That's unexpected news, and I did not check in on that.
Which helps Terry, but I don't know. Terry could have a big game.
I love Alex Smith. Great story.
I
obviously.
do too. Unfortunately, he just doesn't score a lot. Yeah, his can say in our stat. Our process.
Yeah, we're researching consistency-based metrics
floors,
on
and he never met his floor all season, which is unfortunate. He was very close. He had like 14 points, but you want to get a little more out of your little quarterback.
Yeah, and it's less of an Alex Smith thing. He's never been an elite fantasy player. Alex Smith has always been a decent sleeper flyer type player, but. He's working with Terry McLaurin, and then his number 2 wide receiver is basically J.D. McKissick, and that's how running back.
Yeah, and then he's got Sims in there. He's been heating up a little bit.
Sims is okay, and then
he's a returner.
Gibson out of the backfield is all he has to work with. But other than that, if you guys have any more questions, drop those down below. Otherwise, we'll get headed out of here pretty quick. One more just came in from that Bo Angel. We've got a question about Corey Davis or Jamison Crowder, but like I said, you guys, if you have any last questions here, get those in.
I think it's Boa Angel.
That Boa Angel. Possibly. Okay, so Corey Davis or Crowder in full PPR. I think both of those are healthy stream options. Crowder against the Patriots and Corey Davis against the Texans. Yeah. I think Crowder might be the way to go. Gilmore's out. He's on IR.
Without Gilmore.
Yeah.
J.C. Jackson struggled a little bit last week.
He won't follow Crowder into the slot, I don't think.
No.
So I think that Jamison Crowder is that number 1 wide receiver for the Jets. I mean, he's not a number 1 wide receiver, but he acts like that for his football team because Mims hasn't really emerged as a beast yet. So I think Corey Davis, super high ceiling but a really low floor. I'd stick with the safer and somewhat nice ceiling in Crowder. And then you guys may have covered it from Rick here. Who's playing quarterback for Arizona and Los Angeles? So this week, did something happen to Kyler Murray that we're unaware of? Otherwise, John Wolford is playing for the Rams. Looking to Kyler Murray there.
See some news.
I don't think anything happened. Yeah, he will play.
Yeah,
so Kyler Murray
is going to
play. Despite his ailments that he's been dealing with this season. I think that, John Wolford's kind of a wild card. I don't expect the Rams to completely use their offense like normal. I think it hurts guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. But
helps out Malcolm Brown.
Benefits the running backs.
Akers if he plays.
Potentially, if the running backs have a strong game, it'll set up some play action and help him out a bit. But and then last couple of questions here. Juan is wondering about Malcolm Brown or Alex Madison in a standard league. I think that changes things a little bit. I think
it does, yeah.
We see Malcolm Brown be used as that goal line back almost for the Rams. He is their heaviest set runner. He is their biggest body, so I think that might be the way to go there.
Yep.
I like Madison and what he can do as a talent, but it's been a while since he's been a starter. Obviously, back to that Falcons game. And if they get in a shootout, as weird as that might sound to say, with the Lions, I don't see him being used all that much.
I agree.
Tanyan or Noah Fant. This week, the Packers had the Bears. Tanyan actually did pretty good against Chicago, I believe, but they were splash plays. Who's Fant had this week?
They have the Raiders.
The Raiders. Ooh. I don't know. I think the Raiders can't cover open grass, so Tanyan tight end 3 right now. Very, very good season for him. Chicago, he had 5 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. I think we can't expect those high of numbers again this week. I love Tanyan, but I don't think he's going to end up repeating that. I think Fant, if he is healthy, let's check in how he practiced this week. I think against the Raiders is an excellent choice. Super talented player, and if Drew Lock can keep the football. Vic Fangio says Noah Fant is close to Travis Kelce level.
That's something.
He's got talent, but he's not getting there. I would say it's a product of his quarterback play, but he'll be out there this week. I'd expect him to have a nice game. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I like Fant a lot, so I'd go with Fant here. He's gonna have probably a better floor than Tanyan because he's playing the Bears. You never know.
Like I said, Tanyan, I believe, is a 50-yard touchdown or is a long ball.
It was painful, is what it was.
I don't think he's gonna do that again against the same team twice in the season. So I'd bet on Fant being better this week. If Akers plays, is he a flex? That's a really interesting question. I think.
But then he's got Akers or Kenyon Drake. I would still do Kenyon Drake.
Right. I mean, they're playing the Rams. Tough front.
They're both going to play as hard as they can, and he's going to get the goal line carries most likely too.
Right, because Arizona's in if they win and Chicago loses, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, I think you got to go with Kenyon Drake here because my fear is that even if Cam Akers suits up, he's not going to get the majority of the committee carries.
They really play that hot hand. Or
they
like
want to go that hot and healthy hand. And like Eric said, if Malcolm Brown is 100%, I think he'll get 20 carries or close to it.
They may run even more, honestly.
They really could. The little C.J. Anderson effect.
Yeah.
Juan agrees. He thinks he's going to go with Drake.
That was fun, C.J. Anderson.
C.J. Anderson won me fantasy leagues that year. It was amazing. I had him and Gus Bus Edwards on his rookie season filling in, and I had them paired with Melvin Gordon, and it was a lethal combo with D-Hop at wide receiver with Watson that year. Oh, it was great. Have we talked Madison? Yes. Yep, a little bit. You've got Eckler versus Madison, standard non-PPR thoughts. So I'm assuming this means Eckler or Madison for your starting spot in a standard league. Eckler's been a little bit on the down lately.
Playing the Chiefs
might not be a meaningful game. I mean, if it's standard and he's not getting those points for the receptions and they're just yards or yards.
You might want to go Madison. He could get some touchdowns.
Madison might have a little bit more of a ceiling here. I mean, I was really kind of frustrated seeing Kalen Ballage get the goal line carries for LA lately. I thought Eckler still kind of deserved them despite the fact that Ballage is a bigger body, but Madison will get the goal line carries for Minnesota, I would assume. I don't think there's anyone threatening those carries, even with Cookout. So I think in a standard league, then you go Madison here. With Alex Smith playing, are you saying Scary Terry? Okay, so our starting Scary Terry. Juan, are you a Washington football team fan? Because he is showing some big support to Alex Smith with a couple flexes there and whatnot. So am I starting him? Yes. But am I considering him as a wide receiver 1 this week? Probably not. I think he's a healthy wide receiver 2. He's definitely got upside, but I think the floor is a little bit lower. He hasn't been the same guy he was early on in the season, obviously banged up a little bit. I think he's been one of my favorite players all year, but take a question.
What's that?
Take a question. Here.
Thought this was interesting. Who was the 12 players that you think will go first round in PPR? We have a technically half PPR
Yes.
video coming up soon, which will kind of show you who we think are going to be better players in the upcoming draft.
Yeah. Full PPR, first 12. No particular order here. Kamara, CMC is going to go in the top 12. Devontae Adams has to go in there.
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs might be at the back end. Hopkins might be in there. Michael Thomas is out.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, I don't think I said. He's definitely in there. That's 6, but I'm struggling to remember who I said already.
What do you think about Chubb?
Chubb should be a first-round pick next season.
How about Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor is a potential back end. 4 more spots here. I'm trying to think of who I forgot. Saquon. Do we put Saquon in the top 12? I mean, the talent we know is there. He should not be a top 2 pick like he's been the last 3 seasons, but
Zeke.
I might leave Zeke out of this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who else would we consider to be like a top 12 guy? I'm trying to think of last year's draft to give me names. I don't know if we even put Josh Jacobs in there. I mean, we looked at consistency metrics, and he was like under 25% of the time he met a safe floor for a running back.
For half PPR, it's just, and especially PPR, it's not even worth taking him. He barely gets any catches.
Right. Tyreek Hill definitely should be in the conversation. Trying to think of other elite wideouts. I think you do include Diggs in there then, since okay, we skipped over a couple. So start Brady or Lamar this week. Godwin or Jeff Wilson in your flex. Tom Brady's got the Falcons, right? And Lamar Jackson has the Bengals. I'm going Lamar against the Bengals. I know the matchup's good for TB12, but the Bengals are too poor defensively right now. Amari Cooper or Deontay Johnson. I think you go Amari Cooper here. Deontay doesn't have a quarterback this week. Your wide receivers suck this week. Who should you pick? Marvin Jones or Emmanuel Sanders? And you're considering replacing Emmanuel for Keelan Cole. I'd actually keep Emmanuel in there. I think you would
Sanders,
too.
And then Marvin could have a big game against the Vikings.
He's been a Vikings eater his whole career. Emmanuel Sanders is the last offensive weapon standing for Drew Brees. I think you got to stick there this week. Diggs, Thielen, or Allen Robinson. Diggs, Robinson as a close second. Thielen third. I think Diggs has the highest ceiling and floor. Robinson, the best floor probably. And then not quite as high of a ceiling. And then Adam Thielen.
Could do pretty well, though. Those are all good options.
Yeah. All right, and then unless we get a couple more questions here, this will be our last one. Splodefire says he's got T.Y. Hilton, so should he go with him or the backfield of the Rams, the starter? I think T.Y. Hilton's a healthy stream this week against the Jags. It's a young defense. They're not exactly sound on the back end, and he has a high ceiling. Probably not the best floor in the world, but I think you can go T.Y. Hilton, especially maybe in PPR. And then last up here, we've got Ryan Tannehill or Josh Allen. We touched on this a little bit earlier.
That's 2 good options.
Really good option. Tannehill against the Texans is solid, but Erik and I are big Josh Allen guys.
Josh is the man.
Yeah, I don't think you can sit on him. And then every time we get ready to wind things down
why'd
here,
you do that?
Yusuf's got us sticking around for another minute here. Mark Andrews or Logan Thomas. It's hard to sit Mark Andrews, especially against the Bengals. I mean, Logan Thomas is one of the only remaining offensive players that we've got left on the Washington football team, but Mark Andrews
is definitely the pick.
He's the real deal. Top 5 tight end, I think. And I think he is actually tight end 5 right now in fantasy. So, all right, you guys. Looks like the questions have kind of come to a stop here. So, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Erik and I will be on again soon. We've got a video coming up for you guys next week with some cool 2021 fantasy football information for you guys. So, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.